Hi everyone, welcome to episode number 5 of Two House Rock, powered by the ecosystem cluster, or where it will be ecosystem cluster. Today we're joined by Ben from Otterspace. It's a really cool project that I've been following for quite some time now. So yeah, we've spoken a couple of times in the past. I know a couple of members from his team, so I'm quite excited to have them. But before we get into that, just what is Two House Rock and why are we having these conversations? Basically, Two House Rock is this attempt to explore different tools in the DeFi world. And well, not only DeFi, it can be Web3, it can be anything that has to do with coordination. So yeah, governance, you name it, it can be there. So basically what we try to do is to explore with the founders different tools that might be useful for the Maker ecosystem or anyone that's trying to build something Web3. So it's a bit open in that sense. So that's pretty much it. So some disclaimers: our views are our own. We do not represent the whole Maker, since it's a DAO. Inaccuracies are very possible. Information will change a lot. So if anything is wrong, you can blame Ben on it. This is not financial advice, not legal advice. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into Otterspace. As I was saying, a really cool project that I've been following for quite some time. And we do believe from the ecosystem cluster that it might have a bigger impact on, well, the ecosystem scope, potentially growth, and maybe also governance and security. So we'll be able to discuss this with Ben more in detail in the Q&A section. And then regarding the improvement categories, I mean, we'll see this, but this is mainly for community building potentially and governance, especially if we're moving into this anonymous or pseudonymous community, it might become more and more relevant. So yeah, as a reminder, if you guys have any questions, feel free to write them. We could also interrupt, but might cut Ben's flow. So I don't know what you prefer, Ben. We can leave them for the end, or we can also like ask for clarifications during the.
Yeah, it doesn't matter for me. So whatever works best for you. If something is unclear, just raise your hand or jump in. Like, it's fine.
That's good. So yeah, then if you want to take over the share screening.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, I will do so. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, by the way.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Just give me a second to share my screen. So you should be able to see the slides. Cool. All right. Well, again, thanks for inviting me, and thanks, to allow me to present Otterspace to you here. My name is Ben, and I'm one of the co-founders of Otterspace. Our vision, just kind of like broad strokes, is to become the rails that power all the reputation and status related interactions in the future of the internet. As of today, we built a protocol and an application that allows networked organizations such as MakerDAO to build a reputation system utilizing non-transferable, revocable, and expirable badges. And I'll get into all these functionalities at a later stage, and I'll also be showing you a quick demo of the product. As of today, our product is already used by various networked orgs such as Bankless, Radical, Optimism, CowSwap, CabinDAO, and DeveloperDAO, who on aggregate issued more than 15,000 badges to their core contributors, members, and stakeholders. But before we jump into product and the solution, I think it's always important, especially as a builder, to outline essentially what your product and your solution solve. So here's just a very quick rundown on some of the problems that may sound very familiar to you. And these are, in my view, or in our view, problems that Otterspace is very well positioned to actually solve, which I'll go more in depth on the next couple of slides as well. So number one, we believe it's very hard to track membership and participation, especially on chain. And I think we believe that that's the case because, oftentimes the kind of default solution for that is, Discord roles, and then it's not entirely portable. So the kind of architecture and the web of social relations are not portable. And then number two, we believe that DAOs and I think Maker is most likely not alone in this, as we've heard from a bunch of our partners and customers. DAOs currently suffer from an engagement problem, which also relates to the voter apathy problem. I think this was also covered at length in the endgame proposal. So I'm really excited to jump a little bit more into it with some potential solutions. And then number three, we believe the more complex a DAO is in terms of its structure, the more likely it is that there's a lack of understanding by its members and all the stakeholders that are involved on the governance process, especially on the procedural side. And we believe with endgame, additional layers of complexity could be introduced, but it's also, of course, an opportunity to make it easier and clearer. So I believe that there are some solutions that could be interesting, could be worth a consideration at least. So let's maybe jump into some solutions. So I'll run through these like slide by slide. It's just easier for comprehension and reading. So we believe, as I mentioned earlier, badges can increase member activation and engagement through a non-financial reward incentive system for participation. So badges are at its core, they're non-transferable, which implies that they cannot be bought, they can only be earned. And that is a very very important value proposition of our product. Through working with various orgs, we learned that a lot of members and stakeholders are actually more interested in softer factors, for instance, such as belonging, and that not all incentives should be entirely financial. And so another solution could be that you can tie in badges with certain gating functionalities and permissions that can really help automate a lot of the community management functions that are oftentimes very tedious and and also time consuming. And for that we have quite a few integrations. So with Discord, where we build an integration natively, and then we also have integrations with Save, with Wonderverse, with Guild and Collab.Land for all types of gating functionalities. And then most importantly with Snapshot, two integrations that are also currently being worked on by teams. So just a quick disclaimer is one is Coinvise, and then we're also in conversations with Tally regarding a integration with their governance system. Sorry, just clicked on the badge. Another solution is that badges can also help with visualizing roles and membership more generally on chain. And this can be especially helpful since membership or the membership structure within MakerDAO is likely going to be more multi-layered. So for instance, you might be and please correct me if I'm wrong in this assumption, but you might be a member in two MetaDAOs, and then you may have different roles in each. But in any case, right, like badges can help enumerate membership in each and just kind of make it structurally visible as well to to the people responsible for managing a MetaDAO. And then another potential solution is that you can create very interesting expiration functions through badges. So badges are expirable at its core. It's a part of the the metadata of the non-transferable token. So there's a state that makes it active versus inactive. And we already have a number of DAOs that actually make use of this model, which kind of helps automate I guess, term-based model. So one example is you can give someone a term-based role for a DAO season, and then at the end of the season, the badge expires. That doesn't mean it's burned. The badge or the token is still visible in your wallet as a kind of memento. However, the underlying permissions expire along with the expiration. And another point on this, which as mentioned here, it also decreases, of course, security risks by automatically revoking the permissions, right, for inactive or phased out members, right, which I think is an important consideration. And then badges can also help with a more nuanced governance model. So we believe that badges are actually a way to empower members that may not have a significant financial stake through this non-financialized primitive, and so thereby the governance power is earned and not bought. And we believe that through this model you can create a more more nuanced governance system that takes into account various roles and responsibilities, and then assigns also differing governance weights based on those. So we're running a pilot with Radical that is part of they call it distribution of influence work stream. I'm also happy to share some links from their forum. And I think one other point to mention is, of course, that this is a solution to or one of the solutions to tackle the plutocracy problem that we're all aware of. And then lastly, I think we went through a lot of solutions. Badges can also be used as a baseline or framework to build a reputation system, which is certainly like a subject that many DAOs are sort of talking about lately. And at its core, we believe that badges are actually a primitive to allocate status and reputation, but also community affiliation and belonging. And you can also see some examples here on the right. They were on all the slides, but I didn't really touch on them. So you can give out a badge that just says you're a supporter. You can also say, hey, I'm a believer, or I was a believer, proof of first, and the same applies to the early order. So I guess just to touch on some of the impact areas, and based on the problem, and solution set, we believe that there are roughly three areas where we can, have a lot of impact, or where we see we can have a lot of impact. So the first one is power distribution within governance. I think I touched on that in the solutions earlier. Number two, I think we can help Maker with introducing some structure into their governance process, especially in the MetaDAOs, as I also mentioned earlier. And then lastly, badges can also help as a kind of stakeholder engagement tool as part of the community building work stream. So I think, just kind of like jumping into each impact area one by one. So as I already mentioned, I think we've heard a lot on the one token, one vote problem, and we believe that badges can actually impact that problem meaningfully, essentially distributing influence not based on financial power alone, but actually based on expertise, roles, and or contribution, because it's not always that the people with the most money necessarily also have the most context on how to make decisions. And one specific example of this could be that certain votes, for instance, and this is not prescriptive, this is just an idea. This could be that certain votes are only reserved to holders of a domain relevant badge within Snapshot, right? As an example. Another impact area that I mentioned earlier is so as outlined in the problem section, we believe that badges can be a way to introduce on-chain structure, especially relating to various roles and various teams. And we think that this is especially relevant in a very complex multi-layered system, such as one with several MakerDAOs, like in the endgame environment. And by the way, as a side note, the Otterspace product can also be white labeled. So you may see our client later in our product, but that is essentially our implementation of our protocol. So yeah, just maybe keep that in mind. We have subgraphs, we have an API as well that you can plug into, and we have quite a number of teams that utilize our contracts and display the badges in their front end. So that is entirely possible. So yeah, lastly, just kind of wrapping up with the impact areas, we believe that badges can have a large impact on, as I already mentioned, re-engaging members based on allocating status and reputation. I think I went through this at length in the problem solution section already, so I'm not going to go too deep here. But yeah, I think now we're getting to the exciting part. At least I hope it's the most exciting part, at least for me. So I'm just going to quickly switch my screen and show you the product. While I do that, I'll maybe give you all an opportunity to maybe ask some questions in case there are any.
Ben, maybe my question is more for... Oh, okay, Frank, go ahead.
Yeah, I think you had a little mic issue there, bro. Thanks for this, Mr. Otterspace. I missed half of it, so I'm not sure if you touched upon my question. So can the Otterspace badges be revoked or modified if a user's role changes or permissions change or they're malicious?
Yeah.
And are there limitations to the scalability of the badge system? So as the sub DAOs grow and evolve, could you scale them beyond what they are today?
Yeah.
What they were. Yeah. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah. No, these are both like really important and very good questions. I think really spot on. So on the first question, that is something that we've explored at length, like in the very beginning, when we talked about how to design the protocol. And Rahul, my co-founder, he also co-authored token standard EIP 4973, which we're utilizing in our protocol. And as part of the protocol design, we kind of took into consideration some edge cases that you just mentioned. So with Otterspace, you can revoke badges, and because our model is that we give our solution to communities or organizations where there's generally a multi-sig or an admin that gives out badges. This admin can revoke certain badges in case there is a violation of, code of conduct, as you mentioned. But then we have two other functionalities. So I think the expiration I already mentioned, which is actually like a similar logic in terms of the metadata being active or inactive. And then there's also a option of burning, which we found is important, especially if a member or a person wants to disassociate themselves, with a specific badge or a specific, reputation marker. That's of course under the assumption that, the system we're designing is kind of reserved for positive reputation and not negative reputation. So yeah, these are kind of my thoughts on the first question. And then regarding the second question on the scalability, also a very good question. So we've actually worked with quite a few communities. So for instance, developer DAO, and like it depends like what you mean by scalability and what order of magnitude, of course. But we've worked with communities that have allowed listed 25K badges in one go with one CSV file, and our allow listing is actually allows for bulk, right? So you can upload addresses as long as they're comma separated. If you're interacting with our client, if you're interacting with our API or our protocol, there are essentially no, like at least not known limitations, right? I'm not going to go on record and say that, we can handle, 500K members, but, we've tested large volumes, and I think that should be possible. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think the second question with regards to scaling the batch system, I was referring more to the ability of the batch system for Otterspace to accommodate, growth and changes within the ecosystem, the sub-DAOs, the MetaDAO. So as these MetaDAOs and sub-DAOs expand, more members hopefully will join. You get new roles that haven't been seen before, have never been created. Permissions are going to be introduced, and then the overall complexity increases, right? So I was just wondering if the batch system that Otterspace has is able to adapt and is flexible enough to handle that type of growth without compromising any of the efficiencies that you pointed out there in your very nice presentation.
Yeah, thank you. I think I understand. Yeah. So I think everything that we built, especially with the protocol, like we built it with flexibility and modularity in mind. So I think we're leaving enough room for like, experimentation. And I think the baseline that we built is a very good baseline to kind of layer on top additional features. I think another point on that as well is that we're quite a small team. So I think we're mainly engineers, and we prioritize feature requests from our customers on a periodical basis, and we move rather quickly if we feel like certain features would help our customer and our customer relationship. So I don't know if that answers your question or gives you confidence, but I feel very positive on the flexibility and the modularity of our protocol. Also given the fact that quite a few communities, DAOs, have successfully implemented on top of our protocol, and we were able to like accommodate certain feature requests.
Yeah, it does. Thanks. I appreciate that. And it's very early still, right? So there's a lot that needs to be developed here as well. So it's not like we have 1,000 individuals looking to join a certain sub-DAO or MetaDAO. So appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm just seeing like some other questions in the chat here. Tim, by the way, nice to see you or hear you. The EIP is EIP 4973. I'm also happy to share the link after the call. And I'm just reading another question here. Yeah, the Foursquare mayorship is very interesting. I had a chat with Retro earlier before the call. We just had a hackathon last week, and as part of the hackathon, one of our teams of developers actually built a like a geo badge, which is kind of like a, it's not something probably that we're productizing anytime soon, at least not in the core product, but that kind of that comment reminded me of that product. But anyways, just in the interest of time, maybe I'll go on to the demo. Can you guys, by the way, see my screen here, or?
Yes.
It's the Otterspace. You can see my cursor, right?
with the wallet 0x21 F2 A4.
Yes. Perfect. Yes. So this is our product, the application, so the client on top of our protocol. I'm just gonna log in here, and this is the community landing page. So this is the Otterspace demo profile right now. Of course, if Maker were to create a community profile, you could customize this. So what you can do is you can edit the theme, the color, the logo, and white label all the socials. And then a very important functionality is to add additional admins. So we've worked quite a bit with Save, but unfortunately, the sign-in caused a little bit of trouble, especially when you're working with like new primitives. And so we decided to just kind of build our own super admin function. And so what it does, it's very simple. You get a RAF token, which for us is like the admin key that we give out to a wallet, an EUA. It can also be a safe, but we recommend an EUA. And then you log on and just essentially add additional community admins. So both ENS and wallet addresses works. As you can see here, we have already two other people, and these are my co-founders. And now if we go back, there are a couple of other things that I want to show you on the community dashboard. I'll get into the badges later, but of course, a key functionality within Otterspace is creating the badge, creating the non-transferable token. And you would especially have to do that if you enter the community page and there would be no badges. So creating a badge is very simple. Let's just maybe create a example badge. Let's just say we have, several levels for Solidity engineers. Let's create the Solidity engineer level 2. In the next step, we upload a badge logo. We also, by the way, have a Figma community file that allows you to kind of, spin up a badge design within a couple of minutes. It's not very difficult, but we found that actually communities, DAOs, prefer to, design their own badge designs. Let's maybe look for the Solidity level 2. There it is. And this is our design, by the way. And then we can say, okay, the Solidity level 2 is a term-based role that ends end of June 2023. And yeah, then we're going to go ahead and register that badge. Just give me a second until I've confirmed my wallet. There you go. By the way, as another note, we're multi-chain compatible. So we're both on mainnet and Optimism. We're also planning to deploy on Polygon next week. And we're considering, potential other chains. But I think with those, 3, we're probably good to go for the next couple of months. So now moving on to creating the allow list. So as I said, you know, on the allow list side, we allow for bulk allow listing. And so this is like the first way to add people to the allow list. So I'm just gonna, just for the sake of like demonstration, I'm just gonna add myself here and to show you, but you could, you know, add as many wallets as you want if they're comma separated, and then you only have to sign once. And then just essentially like confirm that. And then here below, there's a little summary page where you can see, you know, who has claimed, who has minted. In this case, I haven't sent, you know, the invite to myself, so it essentially shows as unclaimed. And in the allow listing case, the recipient of the badge then also has to pay gas. However, we're actually launching a relayer next week that also applies for this case. So that experience will be completely gasless. So the community or the DAO can, you know, pay the gas on behalf of the members. And then there's a second way to allow list members. So you can just simply plug into our API, which is completely open, and, you know, allow list via API. We have a couple of communities /DAOs that are making use of that feature. And then lastly, which I'm going to show you now, you know, is this little box here, which we call request flow. And for that, I'm just going to very briefly sign out and then sign back in with another wallet. Give me 1 second and bear with me. So as you can see, this is kind of like the member view, and this is what it would look like when I see this badge. And I haven't been added to this badge yet, so what I can do instead is I can request it. So the other flow is like kind of like push, and this one is like pull, right? This one is, hey, you know, I think I deserve this role. Can you please give it to me? Sorry, for some reason it changed my wallet back. Bear with me. Okay, there it is. I almost thought something didn't work. So sometimes it's a bit tricky with the wallets. So
Demos are not supposed to work on calls, Ben.
Exactly. So as I said, this is the request flow, and all you have to do. Oh, okay, something happened. So I guess this is a bug that I have to report to our engineers. But I'm just gonna maybe walk you through like what would happen if it, you know, if it worked. So you essentially click request, then you log on with your Discord user profile, and then you verify your Discord name, and then you sign a transaction. The transaction is completely gasless, and then the admin, which you can see here, this is the admin panel, essentially gets a notification that the member has requested this badge. And then you can see here, the wallet address, and in case there is an ENS, you can also see the ENS, and the Discord name, just as a way to verify who the person is. We're also adding a description into the metadata, both for the request flow and the allow listing function, just so, of course, you kind of have some context as well, right? Why is this person, requesting a badge? So, yeah, I guess that's sort of it in a nutshell with the demo. I have one more slide that I wanted to present, so I'm just gonna switch screens again. So maybe just very briefly bear with me. Can you see my screen? Perfect. So yeah, kind of wrapping up what we believe, we can help with for the end game. So again, like summarizing, we believe, Otterspace badges can help with member engagement and also retention. We believe they're, a non-financial reward that really promote healthy growth, and also, help you, drive desirable activities such as referrals with these badges. And then number two, we think, it can impact the ecosystem. I think it could really help, achieve consistent alignment across all the MakerDAOs in the Maker ecosystem, and also, amongst partners with a kind of single on-chain reputation system that, at the same time also introduces some visual structure, of course. And then lastly, it can also help with governance security. And, we talked about, that at length. So, basing part of your governance process on role and, experience-driven governance promotes security by reducing the impact of MKR holdings and, creating a more resilient decision-making process overall, with ultimately, better outcomes for everyone. So yeah, I guess that sort of wraps up the presentation and the demo. I'd love to, take any questions from the group if there are any left.
Before we jump into Tim's question, my first question, Ben, I always struggle with this type of solutions to see if it's more, and maybe the issues that we have seen badges in the past, potentially the most famous one being like a POAP, which is just a badge that you get for participating in something. So I'm always struggling with this type of solutions to see like, okay, is it more like to give some kind of certificate for your community to show that they've done some kind of work, or is it more to manage permissions and see who has the power to do something? And in that case, 1,000 questions come up, like how do you integrate with what? Who's controlling the super admin, because that's potentially dangerous in a DAO. So all these things come to mind. I don't know if there's an easy way to, or a way that you show projects how to mental model the whole thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. So the way how I would draw it is kind of on an x-axis. And on the very left side, as you mentioned, you have POAPs, right? Where you have a very high volume of POAPs that are being issued, and generally the meaning of these POAPs, oftentimes to users or recipients is high, but generally what you can do with those POAPs is quite limited. Also because, of course, they're non-transferable, so it's maybe not a good idea to use them for governance, right? And then if I look on the other side of the spectrum, you have players like HATS protocol, and we know them very well, and we really like the team. And I think HATS really plays in the like roles, specific sort of game, right? Where you have a lot of like very complex permissioning. You have like decentralized permissions, right? Where you can give somebody else a hat. And so I think where Otterspace plays is somewhere in between. So, you can use Otterspace to, kind of, commemorate participation at an event. But then what you can do is you can actually turn this into kind of a signal. If somebody has, collected 3 badges, you can then say, okay, the 4th one will actually give you some permissions because you've shown on a repeated basis that you've contributed value to the community. And so I like to answer your question. I see us somewhere in between. So we're a little less opinionated, than, for instance, say HATS protocol, and want to kind of enable more horizontal use cases. As you've seen in some of the solutions, you can use the badges for quite a few things. So, yeah.
Nice. I don't know if Tim, you want to jump on the mic, or I can read it for you, or maybe I don't know, Tadeo, Kianga.
Yeah, I can get after it.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm kind of curious about where you guys see automation fitting in. So I asked a question about like, is there a subgraph of like eligible badges? And just that's a teed up question to just go nuts, Ben. Let us.
Yeah. So we have a subgraph. I'm happy to like share all the developer documentation, after the call. In terms of automation, as I mentioned, we also like have an API. So you can, I guess the question is, right, like you don't want to manually, assign somebody a badge. You want to kind of configure some conditions. And then if that eligibility criteria has been met, the person can automatically earn a badge. Is that kind of what you're asking?
Yeah, that's correct. If it helps us context, eventually, the whole point of where Maker is in our current, I guess, vision or whatever is that we want to move towards as much automation as possible. So like what that looks like in at least my mind would be that there's like discrete event logs from smart contracts, right? And then those would be eligible for, say, badges or hats or all these other different things, right? And then they would be sort of a fractal of different implementations. So I was just kind of curious if that's the direction you guys are going in, or if you already have it now, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's very interesting. So I guess you would like a smart contract to then essentially send a signal to our protocol and say, okay, this wallet address should be allow listed. So that is definitely, a direction that we're going in. So we're actually currently working on a protocol that permissionlessly like would issue a badge based on certain on-chain criteria. And yeah, that's been something on a roadmap for a while. It's just not easy to build. So yeah, we're working on that. And philosophically, like very much aligned, right? I think that is the interesting thing in the end, right? For us, like to give a trustless badge, right? Where you're essentially like trusting in the code and the protocol and not the human side, which I think is the most interesting part. Yeah. And so, the API is a first step in that direction, which is a little bit more, I guess Web 2 native, right? So you can kind of plug into the API and then allow list based on a signal. But that's only the beginning. I hope that answered your question.
If you want to hop on the mic.
Yeah. Hi, Ben. And I know you mentioned that you're trying to be less opinionated than others and trying to allow the user to create their own, let's say, create their own adventure in a way. But I want to push on the other direction and ask you whether you've considered running this as a not as like software as a service model, but like an actual service of providing the logistics, the integration for it as well. Because if I look at this right now and I pick it up, I'm like, okay, I need to decide all the rules. I need to create an interface to be able to interact with Otterspace badges. I basically need to essentially hire someone to run this. If you had any questions, any ideas, or bring this into implementation.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. Yes, and we like this is something that we experienced in the past, I would say, like couple of months. So especially when it comes to protocol integrations. So I think, client integrations aside, the client is fairly You know, as you've seen, except for the little glitch, it's pretty, you know, self-serve. But especially for the protocol, there are a couple of like org design and you know, also like technical hurdles that we have to surpass. And so I agree, like there's a certain like level of handholding and a certain, you know, service component, you know, where you kind of like sit down with the DAO, you have a number of workshops, and you kind of like, you know, map out the structure, and then, you know, you only get to the tooling part, you know, in a third or fourth meeting, right, where we kind of like try and understand like what is the problem. And then of course we also try and understand if our solution can be a problem. We you know, we don't try to like force fit it. So you're absolutely right that there is a big service component. You know, on the question of, you know, whether or not we want to kind of, you know, go more down the Llama DAO model. You know, we're good friends as well with you know, Shreyas and Austin. They're great. I don't know. Probably not. I think we're you know, at heart, like, you know, builders, and we love building products. And if we can productize it, we will always try and productize it. But you're right, like a certain, you know, level of service is definitely needed. And I think we're aware that that's something that DAOs would want. And we have a, you know, we have a developer team. I spend a, you know, fair amount of time with most of our integration partners. And I enjoy it as well. I enjoy it. I learn a lot on the way as well. So I hope that answers your question. Is a good prompt though.
Nice. Yeah, we're reaching the top of the hour. I don't know if there are any more questions from the attendees, but for anyone watching later the recording, Ben, what's the best way of reaching out for you? I don't know if you prefer Twitter, Telegram. What's the...
Yeah, so on Twitter, I'm Dobbin.eth. On Telegram, I'm bendob 2701, and then you can also yeah, follow Otterspace if you're more interested in, you know, product updates, feature updates. We're at Otterspace_XYZ.
Perfect. Yeah, and for anyone that would like to test your product, is there an easy way, or do they need to go through you? What's the procedure there?
There's a very easy way. If you want, I can share a link with you. All you have to do is put in your wallet address and the name of the community, and we'll drop you an admin key, and then you can essentially log on to the product with that. Maybe I'll, you know, just share that with you, Juan and Retro in our chat, and then yeah, we can take it from there to see who's interested. And by the way, I'm always happy as well, you know, if you have any other follow-up questions, yeah, on a product, happy to jump in as well.
Absolutely. Thank you everyone for joining, and thank you, Ben, for being with us. It was very informative and nice to see your demo.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for all the questions.
Bye-bye.
Cool. Bye.